This video is going to give you some awareness on things to do to continue with your spiritual awakening. Are you ready for spiritual awakening? Well, whether you're ready or not, things are happening anyway. And what I've learned is it's best to move along with the process. I will start out by talking about 3 things that will assist you in your spiritual awakening and help you to gain clarity and find freedom in this life as you go along. The first thing I want to talk about is letting go of the past. And I just want you to know that I've been doing my work for over 30 years, so it's not as simple as just making a decision to let go of the past. It involves the mind, the body, the spirit, different forms of healing, different processes. And that's what took me so long to figure out how to get to this awakening I'm having. And I just wanted to share what it entails to get to this point. So my life has been all about making other people happy, and being highly sensitive and being an empath added to this because I know what it feels like to hurt. I know what all that feels like. So I want to make everybody else feel better. That's just an automatic go-to that I have. I can feel the pain of people. And so what I did was I just led this life of trying so hard that I lost any concept of who I was. And when I got to the point of doing my own work, I was looking for who I was. I was looking outside of me. And at some point it got to the point of looking inside. And the most important thing that I learned in all of that was I have been doing cognitive work, therapy and other things for my entire lifetime. A couple of years ago, I started to recognize that even with the knowledge of everything that was going on, I was still going into these anxiety attacks. My body would just freak out, and I would have the stress response, and I would, at times I would dissociate, and I was just so, I couldn't figure out what to do. And what I have learned is that the body is the holder of the memories. It's not the cognitive mind that's actually doing that. It's the energies of the memories that get held in the body. And if you've never read The Body Keeps the Score by Dr. Bessel van der Kolk, that's a great place to start for trauma and things like that. I needed to start to forgive, especially myself. And I wanted to work on forgiving my mother. I was angry with her my whole life. I never had a relationship with her. She left my life when I was 12. I was parentified by her. I was angry. I don't know how many times I would say that because I was. But I had this vision my entire life that I wanted to, when she left the earth, I wanted to be there to support her being able to leave there in peace. And all these things that I learned about the cognitive ways of doing things, and then stepping into this process of somatic healing, which is of the body. And as I started to do this, I could feel these things releasing from my body, these energies, and I started to feel lighter. Now, somatic therapy or any kind of somatic work involves the body. It can be, there's a lot of different ways of doing it. Anything to release the energy that was in my nervous system helped me to let go and stop thinking so much about the past. And it stopped holding me in that literal holding pattern and keeping me stuck. Letting go of the past is huge. It's really important. And it's also important to remember that it's not something that is an easy fix, or it wouldn't have taken so long. And of course, I have to admit that I'm pretty stubborn, so I have to know things are going to work a certain way. And I've also had to let go of that. So as each step went on, I was able to let go of more and more. Moving into number 2, discover the truth of who you are. what in the world does that mean? Okay, so this is an interesting thing because I didn't understand that. It just kind of flowed in at one point. So the truth of who you are is underneath all of the lies, the things that you've been taught, the things that you've been told about who you are, whatever all of that is, your truth, your light, your essence is underneath all of that. And all this process is about peeling one layer after another off of this. And there are definitely quicker ways of doing it than I've done it. And that's why I'm sharing this stuff, because it was really challenging for me, because I'm always looking in different directions, trying to research and understand. And, you know, I went through all kinds of different things to do it. But the important thing to know is that there's a truth underneath all of that, for lack of better words, garbage that was piled on top of you, and the traumas that kept you locked down because you didn't know what to do, because no one knew how to share how to walk through that kind of stuff. So because no one was really taught how to deal with emotions. In fact, in our society, we are taught that emotions are bad, or feelings, at least my generation. Now, thank goodness it's coming out that it's okay to do this now, but there are still some people who think it's not okay to cry. So how do you release an emotion if you are blocking it? And that's part of that. And I also had this thing about, you know, not only was I told that I should be doing certain things in my life, or sometimes it wasn't being told that, it was more my desperation of trying to make my father be proud of me. And so I did everything that he wanted and he thought was a good thing, so he would be proud of me. And that's not my truth. That has nothing to do with me. And I did that my whole life until I started to realize that that's not my truth. Discovering the truth of who you are will absolutely awaken you to more of the truth of who you are, and will build you up into this space where you can start to see how big and expansive you are. And it's not about, you know, what anybody says about you. The truth of who you are is your truth, and you get to find that. And the final thing is really important. Not everyone has this or recognizes that they're having it, but it's called a dark night of the soul. And I noticed that I've had quite a few. And what happens with a dark night of the soul is, after you've worked through a lot of stuff, the challenge in this type of work is that more things will come up to be released. And part of the process is that the opportunities, that's what I call them now, that we get in our lives, whether it's with other people or situations or whatever that looks like, cause us to bring out these things about ourselves that need to be healed. The dark night of the soul is this process where you just feel like you're crashing in on yourself and you don't know what's going on, and you're just like, for me, literally, it was on the floor in a fetal position, screaming and crying because I didn't know what else to do. I was so confused. I couldn't figure out what was going on. And all these opportunities that came up for me got so bad, and I didn't have what I needed at first, at the beginning of all this, that I just fell into this complete dissociation of like time and space, and it was very interesting for me. When this implosion occurred, there were things going on in my life where I felt so out of control, and it was at a point where I was at my lowest. I just couldn't fathom wanting to even live any longer. It was so overpowering, and I felt so alone, and I felt so lost, and I didn't know what to do, and I didn't know who to reach out to, because what was happening in that process were the people that were in my life were part of why I wasn't able to reach out to the people in my life. So if that makes sense, they were part of the opportunity. And that's what I look at it now, but it wasn't something that I could handle before. And I just was in this, I used to talk about it being this hole that I dug, standing up. I was in the hole, the water's rising to the surface, and it's just like my head's back and it's lapping up against my mouth. So it's like, you know, and going further and further. The dark night of the soul almost feels like you're about to drown. It feels like everything's just crashing in on you, and I'm sure that you may have experienced it, but you really didn't have a phrase to put to it, but that's what that is. And what that helped me with was, once I got done with that, the most interesting thing was that I would get up literally off the floor, and I'm like, I get this aha moment of the next thing to do. I cried, I screamed, I'm like, you know, I mean, if you've ever watched the movie, what is that? Eat, Pray, Love. There's one of the original beginning scenes in that movie where the woman who's in there, she is doing that in the bathroom floor because her entire life is falling apart around her. That's what that feels like, if you've seen it. If you haven't, it's a really good movie. I'd recommend you seeing that. But as a result, though, once you're done with that, just like with the temper tantrum, being done and getting to the point of complete exhaustion and just letting all that energy out of you, there becomes this space where these thoughts start to come in, and awarenesses that help you to start to figure out what to do. And if those things hadn't have happened, then I would have never known what to do next, because I was so locked into this trauma that I was in that I couldn't figure out how to get out. And these dark nights of the soul actually helped me to get out. And I hope that helps. So I think that should do it. The last thing I was going to say is, if any of this stuff relates with you, please leave a comment below and let me know what that felt like for you, or how you felt you experienced it. And I also found out that there's this new super thanks thing. I don't know what that is, but if you see it, go ahead and click it. And don't forget to also subscribe so we can get these videos out to more people and hopefully help them as well. So I appreciate that you've been here with me. I hope this information helped. If you have any questions, you can reach out in the comment below, or you can follow up on my website. So I think that is it. I hope you have a wonderful day, and peace.